Howdy, howdy, it's Crafty Grinding back here again with an arena cutoff video for Marvel Contest of Champions. Today I'm covering the new arenas for Agent Venom and Dormammu. As I typically like to do, the first step is to figure out kind of how do these arenas kind of stack up against previous. And with 4-star and 3-star arenas, they're typically either one type. They're either a new champ or an old champ. And when it comes to Agent Venom, pretty easy. He's an old champ. He's been in the game for a while. Now, when it comes to the 4-star basic, this is where it's been a little bit more tricky. You got to kind of gauge what the sentiment of the community is, and then there's been a bigger impact from the a month or so ago account purge when all those accounts were removed. So there's been kind of an evolution, if you will, of the different groupings that this comes with, and you'll see that soon in the results, the past results. But typically, I either like to say is there low interest, medium interest, or high interest, and I think with Dormammu we're going to see high interest. So with all this in mind, let's take a look back at the 4-star feature old champs first round arena. So when there's an old champ, you can see kind of what the results have been in the past. For the most part, you can see that there's just been a steady increase over time. We did have the exceptions with Star-Lord and the Punisher, but I think it makes sense why that's the case. Star-Lord's a really high value, one of the better champs in the game still, where Punisher, there's really not an opportunity to grab him other than Arena Crystal. So there was those bumps that you saw. Now, Civil Warrior kind of carried over that wave, but then after that, it kind of returned back to the previous slight increase we've seen over time, specifically with the Miles Morales, Spider-Man symbiote, and symbiote, I should say. Speaking's easy, huh? And then lastly, with Electro, we've seen that steady increase come back. And I think, again, here with Agent Venom, we're going to see that maybe not as big as a slope, big as, an increase that we saw between Spider-Man Symbiote and Electro, but I do think we will see an increase. And then when you look at the other the other key tiers, top 10%, it's kind of had that steady increase as well. Whereas for the 11 to 30% tier, it's kind of been steady right around that 1.6 with a slight growth over time. Now, when we look at the 4-star basic, I wanted to go ahead and pull the mid and high interest first round results over the last many months since the 4-star basic arena has been around, and you can see that for the most part there was a clear separation, big peaks and valleys. The peaks at the time when we had those high interest champs, and the valleys in the time when we had the mid interest champs. But you can see right after Gwenpool, when we started with Captain America World War II, there's just been this steady incline, and that's right about the time we had that big account purge. So this is where, out of all these arenas, this is really where I've seen the biggest impact. And what the impact has been, even with, some would argue like a Wolverine X-23 or especially the Hood, these are going to be high interest champs that you think would get a lot of people grinding. It's really only been a steady increase. So we may have seen the removal of separate mid and high interest clusters and groups, if you will, and now we just have one steady group. You're either a low interest champ like an Iron Man, because he kind of, he's much lower than these numbers, and then you'll have a kind of another group. So I'll keep my eyes on this over time to see if this is the case, but I think as you can see here with Dormammu, between Cable, Wolverine, the Hood, now building to Dormammu, I think we're going to see that steady increase and continue, and that's right around 10 to 15%. And then when you look at the 11 to 25% here, that's pretty easy. That's pretty steady no matter who we're dealing with, no matter if it's high interest, mid interest champ, even back months ago, even here recently. And I think those numbers are going to still stay the same. But it might be hard to see from that line there, but there is a slight increase, and you'll see that slight increase taken into account with my prediction. And then lastly, when it comes to the 3-star feature old champs, this one's pretty easy. I mean, every time there's an old champ, people go a few thousand over top the last milestone, which is 640,000 for the veterans bracket, and then then you can see there's been a slight increase over time. We went from 641, 661, 654, 674, 675. I think we're going to be right around that 675 again. And then when you look at the 11 to 25% tier, it kind of had a jump back there with Rocket and Drax, but it's kind of leveled out since then, right around 430,000. So with all of this in mind, what are my round one predictions? Well, when it comes to the 4-star feature for Agent Venom, I think we're going to be looking at 7.5 million, just slightly above where Electro came in. And then for the top 10%, that's going to be around 3.9. And then if you're interested in that 11 to 30% tier, you're going to be right around 1.6, 1.7 million. When it comes to the four-star basic, I think we're going to see that continuing 10 to 15% increase from the last basic champ, mid to high interest champ, which was Hood, which was right around 4.1, 4.2. So I think we're going to see it come in Dormammu around 4.6 million, with the 11 to 25% tier coming in at 1.7 million. And lastly, when it comes to the three-star arena, I think we're going to see that come in like you saw that line. There's nothing more clear than that. I know it's like 674, 675. So we're going to put the prediction right around 680, assuming it goes up a couple thousand more. So 680,000 with 11 to 25% tier right around that 431 that we saw before, with that slight increase at 440,000. So in terms of grind target, now, keep in mind, especially if this is the first time you've seen it, my prediction videos. The predictions is where I actually think the cutoffs are going to come based off of those trends we saw from those graphs that I just shared. So this is where I think it's going to land. If you really want to make sure, based off of that trend analysis, that you get them, you probably want to go closer to the grind targets that I'm putting here versus the predictions. So when it comes to Agent Venom, if you really want to get him, go to 7.8 million. I don't see how he's going to go higher than that, especially with Electro, who, in my opinion, is more valuable in the game still than Agent Venom. Went around 7.1, 7.2. So if you go to 7.8, even 8 million, you should be totally fine. Same the case with the top 10%. If you go over 4 million, you should be fine there. And with the 11 to 30% tier, if you go to 1.8, 1.9 million, you should totally get that tier. And then when it comes to Dormammu, I know that I was saying that for the four-star basic, I see that cutoff around 4.5. That's kind of if those numbers continue to hold. But you could tell when, especially looking at the past, there were some peaks and valleys and a big separation. And that hasn't happened after the count perks. I just always cautious folks with the four-star basic that we may get to that point again where we have peaks and valleys for high interest champs and mid interest champs. And if we have a peak, it's going to go over 5 million. So you want to make sure you get a 5.1 if you're really, or even higher into the 5 million if you really, really want to make sure you get Dormammu. If you want to take a chance and go against what the trend saw after the account purge, then you're probably going to be safer close going to that 4.5, 4.6. But it is definitely going to be a riskier play. Going over to 5 million, you got a better chance. Now with the 11 to 25% tier, I think we're going to see that come in at 1.8 million. And lastly, with the three-star feature, you're pretty safe just going to that 675, 680 number. But if you really want to make sure, go over 700,000. And if you really want to make sure you get the 11 to 25%, go over that last mile, not last, but that one milestone reward at 480, go to 490 and 490,000. You should be fine. These are my thoughts on both the grind target and predictions for the new Dormammu and Agent Venom arenas. Would love to hear your thoughts again. Trend analysis, past trend analysis is always, it's an approximation. It gives us in the ballpark. It's not an exact science. Past, as they say in Wall Street, past results don't guarantee future results, kind of stuff. Want to put that disclaimer here too. These are just trying to give the community a kind of a sense of where these numbers might fall, so that when you're grinding for these folks and you spend that time, that hopefully you get that champion you're after. So anyway, these are my thoughts. Would love to hear yours in the comment section, especially if they're different. Would love to think why you think differently, especially around Dormammu. If you think all of a sudden we're going to go to high over into the 5 million numbers again, would love to hear your thoughts on that. Or even if you agree, would love to hear about it in the comment section. And of course, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate you hitting that thumbs up like button. And if you like this video and others that I have in the channel, would really appreciate a subscribe. Other than that, thanks a lot for stopping by and have a great day.